I made it to the finals of the Modern Challenge on the 20th of October with my build of 4-color Keruga Omnath. This video will show gameplay from round 4 of that challenge, and I will be giving my commentary for the gameplay in this round. Hope you enjoy the video. Round 4, Game 1, I'm on the draw. Opponent reveals Giganta the Wellspring as companion. I think I keep a generally good hand against Giganta the Wellspring. Found out they are on Boros Energy after the first few plays. Play a Surveil land first, keep more removal in the Dead Gone on top. The keep is also fine in general, got the endurance in case it was Storm, but it's not Storm. Plenty of removal here, but opponent being on the play means that this Rough Tumble is not going to be as good, because the Gaia Souls now just dodges it, which means I am going to have to use the Leyline Binding to take care of it. And this is just generally a difficult situation, but it's a very easy choice for me. Yes, the Goblin Bombardment is very threatening and will snowball damage, but the Gaia Souls basically does the same thing. So really it's a rock hard place kind of situation. Have to deal with the immediate threat of the Gaia Souls. For example, another way to out the Gaia Souls would be to bounce it and then try and use the Rough Tumble again, but that's just really slow. I'm taking a lot of damage already. And if they have Static Prison on this Leyline Binding on the Goblin Bombardment, say I choose that instead as the target for Leyline Binding, then it really blows me out. But yeah, this is a pretty bad situation. As is, not much I can do. If my draws line up a bit better in the future turns. Ijani keeps going with the damage. I try and make a value block here with the endurance. I'm not catching up on tempo, which is the life tool here, and I can try and take care of these tokens with as little cost to myself as possible. So holding this Rough Tumble as late as possible and putting an attacker so I can start pressuring the Sujani. I have a decision in this coming turn whether to go rough and then attack the Ajani and make sure the Ajani dies. But then I'm just dying to any source of 3 damage to my face that the ring can produce. So Flage and Bolt kill me. So I play the Omnath instead, trying to get above 3 life, but yeah, they have the combo to get me back to 3 life, and then the Bolt to finish me off. But I don't think I made any particular misplays here, just a bit more difficult to deal with all their creatures while on the draw. Just a turn late to deal with that Guide of Souls. On to the next game. Round 4, Game 2. I'm on the play as I lost last game. Wanted to do a small discussion on the sideboarding. So it's a 1-card sideboard. I board in a Cosmic Rebirth and take out an Endurance. This is specific to Boros Energy because they play Blood Moon, or sometimes they do. I think I see it often enough that I can say that most Boros Energy decks play Blood Moon into this matchup for Color Omnath. Endurance, while good against Flage, is not as important as Teferi bouncing the opponent's One Ring, and just delaying those turns where they get to draw multiple cards with the ring is really good. I don't board in stuff like Forced Negation because, as we will see in some later matches in this challenge, even in the face of a One Ring, you can win without your own. That's what this deck can do, and it mostly involves Elesh Norn. So you don't need to go as far as reaching for Forced Negations. It's actually not good at all, because Force of Vigor deals with all the non-creature spells outside of the One Ring that you would actually ever want to, in a fashion that you do want to. So, for example, Static Prison is better being hit with a Force of Vigor because it essentially turns into an ephemerate for something like Omnath. It blinks the Omnath again, or resets a Teferi that was under it for loyalty, things like that. Yeah, it's really just Cosmic Rebirth to buy back stuff like Solitudes and Teferis, whatever you want, essentially. Okay. Keep a pretty good hand. It's really nice that it's Mountain, because now I don't have to shock myself to play this Dead Gone in response to any creature they can cast on turn 1. Holding the Flooded Strand there for as long as possible, because I don't know whether they'll cast Blood Moon on this turn now, which they do, so yep, fetch the planes, and since I'm on the play, the Leyline Binding can out the Blood Moon should I want to with that single planes at any time. So I play the One Ring instead. Opponent plays their One Ring. And here is a really important decision I make. So instead of outing their One Ring, I decide to play the Elesh Norn. And there's two reasons for this. One, they have less than 2 energy. So they have 0 energy. And this is a really critical number because it now takes them 2 cards to out, 3 cards actually, in this case, to out the Elesh Norn outside of perhaps maybe, so some Boros energy players play the one of Exercise from Duskmourn. It can exile a creature of power toughness 4 greater. It's a white spell, but they usually play one of. So I feel pretty safe just putting this out, this Elesh Norn, in the face of their ring. And reason number 2, and we'll see this sort of feature in the later matches, especially when I don't even have my own ring, is Elesh Norn tends to be fine against the first 3 cards drawn against the One Ring in this specific matchup, and actually against Mardu Energy as well, because a lot of the value that these energy decks accrue are from ETBs. So Elesh Norn tends to invalidate about 3 cards worth of plays anyway, which means that I can then set up this Leyline Binding to out even more stuff with the double trigger on the following turn, while also maintaining virtual card parity. So it's really, really nice having this one-off inclusion in the deck, just being able to draw into it at an appropriate stage in the game and really shutting off a lot of the most powerful plays energy can make. An important angle of Elesh Norn, which we'll see later as well, is that it is very good against the One Ring itself. It doesn't allow them to gain the protection trigger. So they can't just put a bunch of creatures in front of it, because Arctic's will removal, and they can't just play a ring and hope to gain protection, because if you have a board of creatures with this deck, you can just attack past it and they die very quickly. And opponent scoops to me outing their Blood Moon and going Bombardment, and yeah, the ring here wouldn't have gained anything for my opponent outside of the card, so no protection, and win this game very, very quickly. On to the last game. Round 4, game 3. I'm on the draw again. And I keep a pretty good hand, lots of early removal, potential to play around a Blood Moon with Plains Forest, Plains being off the Flood Strand. Very lucky that my opponent didn't have a turn 1 creature, so it lets me play the Surveil Land first, try and fix my draws. I keep the Teferi on top. Teferi itself is a nice card to have on the board, but also it's a pitch for Solitude in case I need to prioritize this leyline binding as well. Or the other way around. A lot of flexibility there with the extra white cards. I don't out anything right now because I want to play around Blood Moon as much as possible, so I want to fetch planes. So I can't use the leyline binding immediately, and I don't want to use the Dead Gone immediately because they still have mana for Galvanic Discharge. But also this way, if I wait until I can get my third land, I can just out the Golem Bombardment. And if opponent tries to preemptively flip the Ajani in response to the Leyline Binding trigger, I can Dead Gone the Ajani. Opponent, however, presents a more important target in Guided Souls, so I let this attack through. And they hold up 2 mana, so this could be Reprieve or Thraben Charm. I decide to kill the Guided Souls. That's going to snowball damage very quickly. I'm not careful and leave it too long. And yes, opponent has the Reprieve. So I'll let the attack through again, just waiting to see what they do. There's just an Onslaught Pride. Again, 2 mana, which could signify a Reprieve. Play the Teferi again, test the waters. Now I feel safe to just Ajani, take out the Ajani with the Solitude. Take up the Teferi because the only thing that really outs it cleanly is Static Prison. Otherwise I need 2 cards. So like 2 Galvanic Discharges or Galvanic Discharge plus Bolt. I have the attack covered with the Fire Ice. They do indeed have the 2 casts out the Teferi, but that's fine, that's a 2-for-1. And the opponent has the Ring. The Cosmic Rebirth is a really nice pickup because I get to bring back the Teferi and potentially bounce the Ring. Behind the Leyline Binding, and I don't use it immediately because say I out the Ring with the Leyline Binding immediately, if they top deck Static Prison, then they only have to use 1 card to get back their Ring and 1 mana. Whereas if I bounce the Ring, they probably sink mana into it again by replaying it, and then I can Binding in response to the draw. And if they have the Static Prison at this point, then yes, they do it. But at least I've tied up their mana for a whole turn cycle. Instead, they have Ambraptor. And I have the Teferi, which is really nice. So they don't get anything off it. And this turn is really nice. I have exactly 8 mana, so I can add Keruga and play it and draw 3 cards. And be temporarily ahead. Draws were okay. Not great, but I think the plan is now to attack them down to low life and win as quickly as possible. Opponent top decks on the Ring. And Static Prison on my Goblin token. It's okay. I use the Ice here because I want to get something going. See if I can find any action. I find the Omnath. And with 2 fetches in hand and them at like 10 life, with the Ring damaging them, I hold the Flood Strand because I think the 4 damage trigger off the 2 fetches with the Omnath is going to come up next turn. So I just tap the Gigantha, try and clear the way for an attack. They've used 2 Galvanic Discharges already, so they have to have some kind of other removal to prevent this. I play the Arid Misa pre-combat, so I can guarantee that if my opponent tries to remove the Omnath in response to it attacking, I can fetch and guarantee the 4 damage. And the 4 damage trigger does indeed win me the game. I think I got quite lucky there in that there wasn't that much early pressure, and there was a few turns where I had just a bit more going on than my opponent. But yes, got there in the end, 2-1 win.